All right, everybody, welcome to Drunkards and Dragons RoundTable, episode 2. Last time we went over a little bit about how we got into Dungeons and Dragons, and then we went into how to create a character. Again, my name is Metzel. That is
Legion the Links.
father and son. I'm the father, obviously. Anyways, um, so we ended it with how to create a character. So we created half elf rogue.
Toast.
Yeah, named Hostefa.
I think that was the name it gave us.
It did. That's the name it gave us. We kind of liked it, so we stuck with it. So what we have done is we've actually created a little background into this character.
Well, let's start. Before we get into what we created. Let's start with how you create a background.
Well, I want to tell them what we're doing. So what we've done is we've created a background for this character. But before we get into what we've done, like Legion created the background for the character.
It was in my world, so it was easy for me to.
Yeah. So we do our Drunkards and Dragons live streams with Mistrum, and Mistrum is a world that Legion created. He's the DM in that world, and so what he's done is the background that he's created is based on that world of Mistrum that he has created. So let's talk about a little bit about different types of backgrounds. What is an easy way to create a background? Kind of what to avoid when you make a background, because some people do the same things. What do you think that is?
So, if you're making a background, there's a few things you can do. You can either have like a very loose background that you develop further as you play, or you can just plan out the background. The first thing you need to start is what level are you starting at? Because if you're starting at level 1, your background's going to be different than if you start at level 10, which some people do. So
yeah, I mean,
think about what you're starting at.
So typically, I would say most campaigns either start out level 1 or level 3. And even going from level 1 to level 3, there are going to be some things that you're going to add to your background that you normally probably wouldn't have at a level 1. You can get it a little more detailed.
Like a level 1 character is just above an NPC, like a basic villager, and a level 3 character is like above your guard, your average guard. So you're like usually a town hero at level 3.
Yeah, so level 1 would be like your background would consist of how you were raised, a little bit about maybe your family, and then what led you to go out to start adventuring. Like what has brought you to this point. But it's going to be fairly short. You're not going to be like, I went out and I became a dragon slayer, and now I'm a level 1 warrior.
And also, depending on what class you pick, it might include your origin. If you're a sorcerer or warlock or something like that, that has an origin.
That's
Choose
true.
your subclass at level 1.
So,
or something like that.
Yeah. So, what are some of the things that you like about creating a background, and what are some things that you just can't stand when somebody makes it?
I like creating backgrounds, but what I usually do if I'm playing a game, I just take an NPC idea I had and then I turn it into a character. Because when I don't get to make a lot of characters because I only really play like 2 games, so a lot of my characters that I want to play are my NPCs. So it's very easy to do that. Stuff that I hate is when a player comes to me and they're like, I'm background, I'm like a general, I'm a lord, I'm a king, and I've killed like 5,000 guys, single combat, just me. And I'm just like, you're level 3, calm down.
Yeah, I hear you.
I hate royal backgrounds. Anybody that's royalty, that's a personal thing. I hate whenever people are like, I hate people who say they're royalty and then like there's nothing wrong. I'm the son of the king, but I'm just on an adventure. I'm like, give me something interesting. Your parents were murdered and you're seeking revenge. I just hate anything that's basic royalty.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind if I'm royalty, but I was pampered my whole life and I wanted to go out. I saw the guards out defending and I wanted to go out and become defender, a defender of, the lands and not just be the king's kid. Like I like that kind of stuff. The thing that drives me nuts is when everybody's like, my parents were killed and I'm going out to avenge them. Now there's some of those that can be really cool. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to fix your name on the screen. There's some of those that can be great if they're done right, but I just think that my parents were killed. I'm gonna go out and
Yeah, the most dangerous job in D&D is being a parent.
yes,
You're just gonna get murdered.
yeah,
I
that is
also
true.
don't like backgrounds that are like my parents are a vampire. My parents are like a dragon. My parents it's just I don't like anything where like they're related to somebody really powerful because that sets up for problems.
Yeah, now sometimes that can be just a great part of a story that you can like thieves and stuff like that. I like it if you're gonna be a rogue. Like, hey, maybe you started stealing stuff, you got caught by the town guard, and now you ran away.
Yeah, no, I
You
like
can't
that.
go
Yeah,
back
that's a good
home.
one.
You're always wanted for something, and so that could be something that burns you in the end, where you know you're always running from somebody. That's kind of stuff. So when uh, when you create a background, what are the basics that you're looking for?
Uh, well, first you have to think about what world you're making it for. For me, it's usually either Faerun or Mistram. And Faerun is one of the official D&D backer or D&D places. It's what we're playing Waterdeep, and I think Waterdeep's in Faerun, right? We're running that in the Sword Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Curse of Strahd is also in Faerun too. So with that, you can basically pick anything from any of the books, and you'll be fine. But if you're running like maybe somebody's homebrew world, maybe they have some different stuff. Like maybe they don't have elves. That'd be really weird, but maybe they don't. Maybe they don't have Dragonborn. Or maybe their Dragonborns are different.
Yeah.
No. So
So let's talk about some things in Mistram that are outside of what is like a typical D&D world. What's in Mistram that if you were creating a background you'd have to think about?
uh if you're on Advent Theron and you cast magic and you're a human, that's outlawed. uh Dragonborns are cursed. Dragonborns descend from cursed dragons. They were dragons that pissed off the dragon gods, and so they got cursed to human. And then half dragons are a breed between a are viewed as like royalty because a polymorphed dragon did it with a human. So if you're a human and you were able to get a polymorph dragon to do it with you, that means you're pretty cool.
So that's
So half dragons are. That's why
but
the king of Avantheron is a half dragon.
so that's kind of um like uh what am I say like Zeus and Hercules, stuff like that, that they're
Yeah,
that kind of lore is where the gods
yeah,
created.
because I had half dragons and I had dragonborn, and I realized they're basically the same thing. So I changed the lore and made it my own lore.
So that's a great thing about working in a homebrew world is you can change stuff like that. Now that doesn't mean you can't do stuff like that in a regular D&D world that you're working
Yeah,
in, but typically those kind of have rules and it's up to the DM. But if you work closely with your DM to create your background, I've seen other things where the DM will take the players and kind of add to their background as you
it's
go. I like to do that sometimes because it's just it adds to the story, I
yeah.
believe.
No matter how detailed your background is, it shouldn't be fully detailed. There should be stuff that you don't know or stuff that's a little bit open, so your DM can work with that and work it into the story.
Especially when it comes to like your family, because you're
Yeah,
not going to know what I like doing as a DM is say you're the one where your family was killed or you were raised by a single mom, or your mom was killed when given childbirth. There's something that there's part of your family you don't know about. I like as a DM to create what happens to the rest of your family, and sometimes they run into them and you never knew, but they've been following you or something like that, or eventually they come and they'll help you, or all of a
Yeah.
sudden you inherit a magic item that you didn't know from your rich uncle who passed away and put you in his will. That's
But
what I'm
also,
hoping
yeah, the
happens in.
DM can just work with it, and because it's like you don't have to plan out. That's the thing. You don't have to plan out all your family. Like, we're gonna go into the background questions, but I even said in the background questions like, "What's your relationship with your family?" You don't have to name them. You don't have to give them names, but just give me a general idea. Because maybe it will come into the story. Maybe you want to flesh out your entire like all your brothers and sisters. That's fine, but maybe you don't. Maybe
It,
you just had like five brothers. So what
it,
are their names?
it used to be, and I can't remember what edition it was in, or maybe it wasn't even D&D. So there there are some role playing games where you actually roll dice to see if you're firstborn, secondborn. That's not D&D. That is was something else.
Is that the superheroes one?
I think it was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle
I've never played that
role
one.
play. Oh, so good. TMNT. If you find that role playing game, it is a blast to play. Um, it's more modern.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Other things
Anyways,
for the
back to
setting you have
D&D.
to think is some settings are low magic, which means maybe there's no sorcerers wizards in there. There's only half casters and quarter casters or third casters, whatever they're called. Maybe it's I don't know something else. Yeah, that's the only setting thing I can think of is the low magic stuff.
So the other thing is thinking about what type of character you're going to be. So if you're going to be a wizard, you got to think about how did you come about getting your powers.
Who taught you? Did you go
Yeah,
to school? Did you meet a dude in a tree?
right. If you're just a regular mage, like who was your teacher? Did you go learn? Were you self taught? Were you taught
Were
by
you mind
somebody else?
controlled and enslaved and
Yeah, there's a lot
forced
of
to kill your family? That's a reference to Critical Role.
there's a lot of ways to make your background interesting and to not just go with my parents were killed. I had nothing else
Yeah,
to do.
it's always good to have an enemy in your background, whether that just be like a slight nemesis. Like maybe if you went to wizarding school, there was another student who was an asshole.
Yeah, like Harry
So
Potter, or
yeah, maybe yeah. Who's your what's the
uh, that,
Draco Malfoy?
yeah, Malfoy. There you go.
Or maybe if and obviously if somebody killed your parents, who killed your parents? To one of the best backgrounds that I've seen is in I'm going to reference Critical Role again. In season one, they have Percy. And Percy just wrote for his background. His parents were killed by the Briarwoods. His family was murdered by them. He did not write anything else. So the DM took the Briarwoods and he made them vampires. And it was a really cool story arc and the character got to like discover that too. And it was like a big thing. And there was a bunch of like people that worked with the family that betrayed them. It was really, really cool. But it was
Yeah,
left up to interpretation by the DM, which made it really good.
uh, we had one recently. One of the characters whose family was murdered, and that's all we knew. And so I ran with it and decided who it was, and it ended up being another party member, um, who
Yeah,
had
that was really
who
good.
had gone and killed his family. So I love leaving some of that background stuff up to the DM because they can fit it into their world, and it
In their
helps you.
story.
Yeah, it helps you to learn and be surprised, and it can change. It's pretty cool. I had back when I first played, we had I like if especially if you have a group of 4 or 5 people. I like sometimes when you take and there's a relationship already based on the background with the two. Like we had wood elf, and I had a half ogre who was my character. Delore was his name, but he had not been enslaved by the elves, but the elves kind of found him and raised him, and he only spoke elf, which is kind of cool about a background. This is a half ogre that could only speak elvish, and then he help them tend to the woods. He had a big two-handed battle axe. So how he learned to use the axe was by chopping down trees, and that was basically his story. So these two didn't necessarily have a friendship, but they were in the same group, and how we had introduced that was Delore. They thought had escaped, but he went out to fight some goblins, and then Krob, the wood elf, chased after him. And anyways, it was a great little. It was a way for them to connect, and way to connect some of the party members and have a similar background. It was pretty cool though.
Yeah. Let's go over the questions that I asked for the beginning of Curse of Strahd.
Okay, let's do it.
The first question was give a two or three sentence description of yourself. That's just to get you thinking of what does your character look like, just so everybody can. That way, when you go to describe them, you're not struggling. The second was what do you perceive as your greatest strength? And some of these questions were tuned to Curse of Strahd for stuff that I want to do with it. So you might want to change some of these questions for your campaign. And then we'll go over the answers for this for our character afterwards. So what do you perceive as your greatest strength? What does your character think they do the best? Chances are will be tied to their class, usually. What's your most obvious flaw or weakness? What is your homeland and where's your family? And then I said no specifics, names needed, just a general idea of what it was like and if your family's alive or not. What relations do you have, if any, to any other party members? What is your want/goals in your life? What are 1 to 3 tragic events that happened in your past? And what are 1 to 3 of the best parts of your life so far? And then 1 to 3 of your fears, and then like options to answer more questions if they had any. So it's like very simple. It doesn't have to be that detailed. Don't even have to really give any specifics.
This is a way if you're DMing a group, and especially for people who are brand new to D&D, they don't know how to create a background. Now, if you get, I've been playing D&D for years, multiple tens of years, but basically from second edition to the current edition. So the great thing about what these questions helped me to do in creating a character for Curse of Strahd was just to think of something completely different. And this just gave me a basic, because, it's always the same stuff that we talked about. And it's hard to sometimes not repeat some of those. But just with these basic questions, it'll help those people who are brand new to D&D. And it helps sometimes those people who've done this for a long time and have just forgot how to create a background because they played one character for so long that they already knew his background. They forgot how they got to that background that they made.
It's also another question I would add to this actually is like, do you have a nemesis? That's the other, like, because I've only used this once for Curse of Strahd, but I would add that. If there is like, do you have a nemesis or an enemy? But yeah. So let's get into the background of our Toast Effa. So I created the world, so I was pretty much just given free reins to do whatever I want with this background. If you're creating your own background, you're going to have to work it hand in hand with the DM. I don't have to do that because I'm God. So
You're the DM.
I'm God in Mistrum. That's basically. So the simple rundown of it is our elf was born in Freylos, which is where it's like a forest thing where a bunch of elves are from. Eventually, he got into Aventheran and into Hartram because he wanted to make a lot of money, and he heard you could do that at Hartram. In there, should we actually go over the answers to the question first, or do the background?
No, let's go through what you answered the question. So let's.
Yes. So what does our elf perceive as his greatest strength? I put his cunning and sneaking ability to sneak.
Nice.
Most obvious flaw or weakness is drinking, gambling, and he hates following orders. Those were all come into his background. Where's his homeland and where's his family? He's from Phalos, specifically the city of Bloomis. Relations to other party members, none, because we don't have a party, we just have one dude. Want/goals in life. This is to pay off his debt and live a successful life where he decides for himself. 1 to 3 tragic events. He was being indebted, which will come into his background. And then he witnessed a lot of nobles and kings make choices for people below them that negatively affected the people below them but benefited the nobles. So I'm kind of making him like a dude who doesn't like rich people, Robin Hood esque, but not as kind. Just
So,
doesn't like taking orders.
so he is. Keep in mind, he's a. Just to remind everybody what he is. He's a rogue, half elf, chaotic good. His background is spy or pickpocket. Square Fox, thanks for the follow.
And then what are 1 to 3 best parts of his life so far? I decided to think of like what are some good things that he would have done that are related to thievery. So one of the good things is getting to Hartram because it's a really big, like technologically advanced city. And then another one was he once stole a golden like button or pendant off of a noble that he was talking to. I was like, that'd be something cool that maybe he did in the past. You know. So
Yeah.
maybe if it's a wizard, they could be like studying a really cool spell and they develop their own cantrip or something like that. And then what are 1 to 3 of his fears? Life of servitude and then loss of free will. Pretty general. And being poor, I guess. Okay, so his background. He was born in Frelos in the city of Bloomis. He was picked to be a Weld Ranger, which is based or a Weld Warden, which is basically like a ranger for the forest. He didn't want to because if you're a Weld Warden, you basically only take orders from people above you. So he ran away, made his way to Hartram. He eventually okay. He eventually got to Hartram and found the underground crime rings in there, and did a lot of drinking and gambling and stealing. And eventually, he got indebted to the family that runs the Nimbus Cabaret, which is a casino ran by cloud giants. And so now he has to work off their debt. And that's like part of the reason he went adventuring is because he needs to get a lot of money to pay these guys back because they will kill him because they're basically a crime boss family, like a mob boss family. So yeah, that's the simple part of his story. I have an entire thing written over here, but there's no need to go over all of it. So let's give something the DM can work with, which is maybe the family's gonna know, why he's out adventuring. Maybe the family will be like, hey, we need you to do this mission for us that you have to steal from this like really rich person, and if you don't, we're gonna kill you. So, that's a mission that him and the party have to do, or figure out a way to get out of the contract with the crime boss family.
So when you're role playing Toast, here let's give me a second. Let me get to the character sheet so you guys can see. So again, as a reminder, we use Roll20. We love Roll20. That's what we do all our maps on. That's how because we do our Drunkards and Dragons stream when we're doing the online D&D. This is where we go. This is where everybody has their character sheets. So we're going to go to that. So this is Toast Effa. As you can see, is level 1
It's
rogue.
more tossed, but we call him Toast.
Yeah, we like Toast. How you pronounce it? Mister.
It's Elvish.
Yeah, the way you pronounce it now. He is got a very low strength, which is unfortunate for a thief. But
it's not unfortunate. They use Dex.
I know, but if he gets caught, he's probably stuck catching.
That's why you have strong party members.
Yeah. Dexterity is pretty decent. 16 plus 3. Constitution is pretty good. Not very smart. Intelligence is pretty low. Wisdom is good, though. So, that helps with the thief. That's something you also want to think about when you're creating your character. And when you're especially creating the background. I mean, this guy's got a 7 intelligence. He's not going to be solving world problems, which could be why he is why he's a gambler, why he's gets involved with these people who don't necessarily have his best.
Yeah, what I was thinking about when I was creating this background, I was like, okay, he has a low intelligence, but he has a good wisdom, which means he's good at perceiving stuff. So maybe he's good at like finding traps or reading people's faces when he's gambling, stuff like that. So I worked that into his background, and the reason he gets indebted is because he's dumb.
He's an idiot.
Yeah.
So think
We haven't
about
picked a subclass for him yet. I don't know if we should do that.
probably not this.
Okay.
Not this.
Yeah, we'll go into subclasses and stuff later. That'll be next episode.
So then we go into, so we picked his background as a spy. Talk about what him being a spy.
What is the spy background? Oh, it's this one. Okay. Criminal contract or contact. This is the same one Enix has.
Oh yeah.
So being a spy, I thought of like a lot of what would basically the Kime family like, because they could just like beat him up and kill him, but they have him indebted because they think he's a useful asset. So obviously, because you're a level 1 character, it means you're better than most people out there. You're better than the average person.
At
You're
something.
Character. Yeah, usually. So he's like a good thief. The spy background gives him a criminal contact, and that's basically just like he was able, since he's connected to this crime family, he has, while he may be indebted to them, they still give him access to, their network so he can do his jobs efficiently. So that's kind of what I was thinking about with his background.
And then typically with your background, if you select a background, you also get 2 skills that you're proficient in.
Yeah, you either get like languages, skills, or tools. Your background usually gives you bonuses.
And that's really up to your DM if they want to do that stuff. We like doing the backgrounds with the extra skills because that just even makes your character more unique and maybe a little more useful in there. Like this guy's proficient in investigation, and so it just makes him with no negative in investigation because he's proficient, because he has a -2 for his intelligence, but just through his, you could easily write that off as just through him being a thief,
a good thief.
He has learned some investigating skills, although he's not very bright, but he's better than, he's about average in investigating. He's just not below average. Like other things that involve intelligence, like religion, nature, if he had to try to figure those out, he's going to be worse than your average person. Figure that. What I like about this is what I love about thieves that aren't very smart is they'll come across items that are magical and not realize it because they're just not great at knowing that, because to figure out if something as like to use arcana is intelligence, they're not very bright, they're not going to know right off like, hey, this is a really powerful magic item, and so you could end up selling something for way less than what it's worth, or you have valuable stuff you don't know about.
Yeah, and there's different subclasses for rogues. One of them is Inquisitor, which is a thief that uses their intelligence. Don't think our guy would be that, so keep that also in mind. If you're starting your character at level 3, you're going to want to take your subclass into what's the word? Into consideration. That's what it was. Because level 3s, everybody will have their subclasses, versus level 1 and level 2, only some people will. So if you're level 3, keep that in mind.
Also, when we were creating Toast, we went into some personality traits. Did we do the random? I think we did random.
Yes.
So some of these traits will play along with just how you roleplay this character. One of them is I always have a plan for what to do when things go wrong. Totally fits a rogue.
Yeah, like I view that as he always has a way to escape. Not necessarily he has a plan in case, something goes wrong all the time. I view it more as he always keeps eyes on the exits and knows how to get out of the building and get in.
And then this is one I love. It kind of fits in, but it's, I don't pay attention to the risks in a situation. Never tell me the odds. Reference obviously to Star Wars, but to Han Solo. But with his intelligence, makes sense. He goes into stuff kind of like, I don't care what the risks are, but if it goes bad, I know where the exits are. So
He's overconfident. Maybe
very
he's just confident.
yeah.
Might not be overconfident. Depends on how the dice fall.
And then on these ideals, they have a little like evil or good. I don't necessarily go by those because you could be playing a good character and still be greedy.
Yeah.
So like this one is greed. I will do whatever it takes to become wealthy. Well, he's a rogue. Every rogue, I think, falls into that category. And then bonds is trying to pay off a debt I owe to a
Yeah,
generous
that was the
benefactor.
main inspiration for his background.
So
Another main inspiration for his background was the language. We picked Giant as a language, and I'm like, why does he know Giant? Oh, I know why he knows Giant. He was indebted to Cloud Giants, and they use it as a secret form of communication. Besides Thieves' Cant, because it's everybody knows Thieves' Cant. That's a rogue. Only
and,
some people know Giant.
and what I love this flaw. I like having flaws for characters because I think it adds flavor to the campaign. Adds a little bit of flavor to your character. But this one, I have a tell that reveals when I am lying. Very bad for a thief. So, um, that's the kind of stuff that your dungeon master can play into um is finding these flaws or knowing these flaws and then using them not against you but in the role playing. You know, they're like, yeah, I think you're lying,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, and you can create whatever that flaw is, like a tick or you do something, voice changes a little bit. um if you have questions about backgrounds or anything, feel free to type it in chat. We'll try to answer them as we can.
The only thing that I didn't think of is we do this where no matter what level you start at as, if you're level 1 or 3, you get a minor magical item, usually something you create that the DM has to approve.
Yeah.
We usually don't go off of the list of minor magical items, which they have,
Right. So
but you can.
it depends on the campaign I'm running. Like if we're running something that is um like kind of a preset campaign, I like to pick the magic items and give them to them. But if you're doing something kind of where it's like freeform, kind of like what we did with Mistrum or Listrin.
Yeah. We didn't do
Um,
that in Curse of Strahd, but that's because you guys lost all your items.
yeah, well, yeah, because you're a jerk for DM.
It was fun, and I don't regret it at all.
Yeah. Um,
Blame the internet. I saw somebody do it online, and I was like, "That's good. I'm going to do that."
no, it's a great. I like kind of stuff. So, uh, what we did in Mistrum and in the precursor to Mistrum is Listrin, our campaign of all evil characters. What we've done is, we had the character say, "Hey, this is a magic item that I would like, something that does this," and it has to be pretty simple. Not like I want a staff of dragon slaying. Like that's a little much. I don't know why I'm into slaying dragons, but I
Dragon
think
slaying
that's
it.
I don't know why I keep
So
bringing that as a
stuff I
reference.
wouldn't allow would be anything, and I made this mistake before. Anything that gives you an extra attack, I made that mistake, and I had to take it away. Sometimes your DM has to do that. Don't be mad at them. They made a mistake. Let them fix it. Uh, I would not give. I would not make it like a ring of protection or anything that gives you a bonus to AC. Nothing. You don't want anything strong like that. You want maybe it has no benefit to the game at all, and it is purely cosmetic. That'd be fun. Maybe it's something that allows you to change the color of your eyes at will. Maybe it's um, a ring that allows you to cast minor illusion. Maybe your character's missing a hand and it's a bracelet that allows you to cast mage hand. You okay there?
Something just fell in the background. No, it's fine. Don't worry, just stuff's falling apart behind me. Yeah, I like if the characters can't think of something, I'll give them something that's not super powerful.
Like Ildrin's was a staff that he made himself, I believe it was. That let you cast burning hands. Which I don't think you've used at all. I don't think you've used your magic item at all.
I've used it. I use it.
You used it like once, I think.
I've used it a few times.
It allows you to cast burning hands once per day.
Once per day. Yeah. I mean, it's a simple magic item, and sometimes you like So Ildren's a good example. You would think that you would use that a lot, which I've used it a few times, but I mean, I don't know. It's only once per day, so you kind of hold on to it. But sometimes you find out these magic items you once thought would be great suck, and then you end up not using them and get rid of it eventually. But
Another good thing is maybe if a character like won't create a background, they're having a lot of trouble. Maybe, and people can do this. You don't start with the magic item. Like that's not a thing you automatically do. Maybe if only if you make a background, you get the magic item. That's
yeah.
they're gonna make the background. You could also tie the magic item into the background, which it usually will be. Like with Ildren's, he got a note at the beginning of the campaign. Everybody got a note as to why they were doing the mission that they were doing, and the note related to the magic item was related to the magic item. I don't want to spoil too much because I still have plans for it. So
Yeah, see, and what's great about that is I don't know what's happening, like 100%. So that's where
I'm trying
you
to think of
can.
what everybody else's magic item was.
I'm going into it right now. Actually, I can't.
I know Bruce Lee's was it gave him a +1 to one of his attacks, which I thought I usually I wouldn't do that for any other character, but the reason I allowed it for Bruce Lee was because he was a monk and he gets 2 attacks and they both did a D4 of damage, so +1 to one of them wouldn't have been game breaking.
Right.
So yeah, I keep that in mind. Your quest, stuff like that, your class and all that. Some of the ones I've seen before.
Enix never got his. Like,
did he really never?
He
Oh,
never
he has a
got
magic
one.
hand now, so it's fun.
Right, no. So, which was kind of cool because it like played into kind of his.
Yeah, you want to see somebody play a dumb character really well? Watch Enix.
Thank
Lost
you.
his hand, even though his entire class is built around Mage Hand.
Yeah. So Enix is my rogue that I play. What I like about when I play a character based on his background. So now Enix is a character I took over from one of my buddies who was playing with us, who just after a couple weeks couldn't play. But there were a couple things that he had created in his personality that I loved and I kept. And based on those like things, one of them was he introduces himself as I am Dragonborn to
Which is
everybody.
the best thing ever.
They're like, "What's your name?" He goes, "I am Dragonborn." And they're, "What's your name?" Enix. And I am Dragonborn. So it's
which makes sense for Dragonborns because they're the race built to be paladins. Like they're very like high up. Which I worked that into my lore. I didn't change the lore of I didn't change the Dragonborns in regular D&D are also like they're very tribal based and they're very like honor based. And so I was like I took that and I was like, why would they be that in my world? And so they used to be dragons, and dragons are like that. So it works. Keep that in mind.
yeah, and Enix, because of how prideful he's very competitive too. So he will kind of do stuff that is dangerous to try to prove to the other people that how cool he is. And so he had
sneak into a noble's house.
Yeah, and almost get killed. But it's I don't know. I like playing a character like one of my. I've played a lot of rogues. I had a character Flendrick, which the party didn't. I don't know if they hated me because he was a very good thief. But
is this the one that stole the ring off of Strahd?
Yeah. So in our adventure one of his weaknesses.
We told the story last time.
Yeah, we did. We told a little bit, but one of his weaknesses was rings. He loved to collect them. If he saw him, he would try to steal him. But he also went off on his own, like, "Oh, I found this chest. Well, I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm going to open it real quick." And he was never known for checking for traps first, so the party would be like, "Hey, where's Flendrick? We haven't seen him." Go back, and he'd been knocked out by a trap in on a crate or something, or a chest. So it's fun to play. Like that's when you create those things in your background where your character does stuff and you stick to playing the character even though sometimes it's like Enix lost his hand because of his own personality. So
Another good thing is Anubis. He is basically like the friendly giant,
oh yeah, Anubis is great.
which yeah, which is it's always good to have one of those in the party. Somebody that the NPCs don't immediately hate or find annoying, which is very good. Or Ildrin's tells everybody about Palor.
He does everybody. Um,
It's always good to just develop a personality for your character. Which is something you're probably going to develop while playing them, not something you'll come up with beforehand.
yeah, it's something that I think truly develops over time, but it helps when you have your background and you start to play it. You find out what works for you, what works for your character. But the key to it is sticking to it. I mean, we play these things. I play this anyways. I can't speak for everybody, but I play this game to get away from reality. So I don't necessarily want to play a character that is my own personality. That would be boring. So I like playing these guys who are, because I'm extremely smart. So playing dumb guys is really hard for me. Just kidding.
Yeah, I like playing wizards and artificers and stuff like that create stuff because I like doing weird shit.
Yeah, I love
tinkerers and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I started out just playing rogues. Fighters and rogues were my first two characters, either a dwarf fighter or elvish rogue or something. But then I made a dwarf rogue, and what I loved about my first, not my first DM, but my second one where we played forever, was he liked to do different things, stuff that wasn't normal. That's why we created a half ogre who spoke only Elvish, stuff like that. And then we had Glendrick, who was a dwarf, and in the older version, dwarves were not good rogues. That's not the class you would pick to play that. We did it, worked out great. I mean, it's just adds flavor, a little change, but
yeah, I would definitely, if you're creating a character, try something different, especially if your character just died. Try something different. Like a good thing to test that is always in one shots. If you ever play one shots with your group, that's a good time to just do some weird shit.
And to test out different backgrounds, especially if you're doing a one shot and you're creating, because typically one shots are with higher level characters. That way,
and they're usually like specific.
Yeah, you can create,
like you have a goal.
You can create a pretty extensive background kind of stuff. So
also, if you're looking for inspiration for background, just take from media. Is a good thing. It's a good starting point.
To take from what?
Just take from media. You got Conan, Robin Hood. Those are the basics, but maybe, you want to take something from Avatar: The Last Airbender, where you want to be like, maybe there was somebody hunting all the sorcerers and they hunted your tribe for all the druids or something. And, your mother sacrificed herself saying that she was the last druid, when really you were the last druid, which was basically Katara from Avatar. But, work it into D&D. And then, boom, you have Nemesis, whoever was trying to kill all the druids. You have, why you went adventuring, all that stuff. Works pretty well.
Yeah.
And that was just something I thought up off the fly.
Yeah, pretty good. And that's something that sometimes can help your DM to add flavor to the campaign, to give him something to prepare for later. Because as a DM, no matter how much you prepare, your players are going to screw it up and not do the things that you've prepared for.
Yeah, they're going to chase the vampire after you told them not to.
And somebody's going to die.
Only if they're Tabaxi. Don't make it Tabaxi. They will die in the first 2 sessions.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Our last two campaigns.
Both of the Tabaxis have been black cats too, so that's another thing that's funny. It's unlucky.
Okay, so go over some of the questions that we discussed.
Also, you can look up like background questions for D&D. Like you can find a list of like 100 questions and just pick your favorites. You don't need to answer all of them. Just pick your favorites.
No, but the ones that we like.
Like this list focused on flaws and fears and stuff like that. Because it's Curse of Strahd.
Yeah.
I also worked in most of your backgrounds into Death House. They have those things that you find, and so I worked in Death House. They have like this room that has 10 objects in it, and the 10 objects are just random objects. But I was like, no, I'm gonna make because there was 5 characters. I'm gonna make 5 of these objects related, one for each character, and relate it to their background, which was really fun for me. And then that episode got lost to time. So
Yeah, that was horrible. So we played the Curse of Strahd, and we were literally cursed
I can go over that
every time. What do you mean?
if you want me to. I can actually go over how I tied each item to everybody.
Sure.
Since that episode got lost to time, let me find it. Okay, so there was. Yeah, I had like this character C. So I had Joppa see a small furry drum set, which Joppa made a character who's a turtle bard, but then he also had a friend. His character has a friend who was a rabbit race, which is a thing that I forgot the name of. It's a race that I made that I'm working on, and it was also a bard that played the drums. And so I was like, okay. And Death House is like their own entity, and it can kind of like, it's like the Monster House from that one movie, animated movie. And so I had this one be the a furry drum set that had the fur on it was rabbit skin. I had Yolta see a book from her childhood on the basics of magic that she could never. That was like the book that always troubled her.
She's a wizard. Yeah. So she always wanted.
She comes from a wizard family.
Yeah, she comes from a wizard family, but she could never do wizard spells, so she ended up becoming a warlock, or yeah.
Yeah, We'll get. Don't say too much because I have stuff that.
Yeah. Anyways, so that related to specifically her background, because part of her background was she was raised in a wizard family but could never cast.
She couldn't master magic.
She couldn't master magic.
She's smart. She just never could get a hold on it. I had Remnant see a metal ring with 5 shriveled up cat paws on it. Or sorry, 6 cat paws on it. Because he had 6 family members that died that were all tabaxi. So 12 saw a holy symbol of his dead friend. Because that's part of his background is the dude taught you how to be a cleric, and you don't know what the name of the god is. That's like your thing that you have to go find.
Yeah.
And then Minute saw a horn, because he's a minotaur, from his father.
Pretty cool.
Tribe leader.
So when thinking of background, sometimes if you want to, the great thing about D&D that I tell everybody is there are rules in D&D, but they're not meant to be followed 100%. You can change stuff. You don't have to go with the race. If there's a race you want something that's similar, then you can create it. We have what's the elephant?
Loxodon?
Yeah.
That's from Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, so we have a Loxodon that we brought into D&D.
Yeah, and how that worked was a character was like, oh, I like this race and I want to make it. And in my world, I was like, I never thought Loxodons would be a thing. And so I worked that into it. And I was like, okay, well, Loxodons are going to be really rare in my world because you guys haven't seen one yet. And so I'm like, okay, why are they really rare? And then we worked that into the character's background and into my world lore. We worked hand in hand together.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So,
and there's a lot of homebrew races you can find online. One of the homebrew races I found recently was just animated armor.
That's a race. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, that'd
be really fun to watch for a one shot.
That would be.
It's basically Warforged.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. But they created Warforged. So 12, my character is a Warforged, and even that we took what Warforged was, and because he's like they can change their armor, they can whatever. I don't. Some of that stuff is too much.
Yeah, we used Homebrew Warforged because we created it before they came out with the newest one.
Yeah.
Whatever that was. Wayfinders Get No. This is the other one. The newest ever run book.
Yeah. So.
But
you go with what fits the background. And so this guy, I don't know, it's pretty cool. But creating a background can help on your DM with some world lore, even if it's a already created world. And then it just helps you to create, interesting things, create a personality for your character.
Yeah. I'm pretty open with anything. If my players come to me with stuff, I'll usually, unless it's like homebrew classes, I get a little bit strict on. But homebrew races and stuff like that, I'm really cool with. Um, some DMs might not be. Some people only want to do stuff from the book but don't homebrew. That's fine. I wouldn't do that, but that's fine.
Yeah, it doesn't make them bad. It just
Makes them wrong.
look
But
being a DM is tough already. So some
yeah,
people, especially our new, show them some grace. But don't try to, D&D is
don't
not
try
a
to break it.
D&D is not a game you win. You don't win. You just play and have fun. So
Like, and also disadvantages, they're fun to play with. Like
but,
the with Squip, we don't use a regular Kobold race stat. We use a homebrew one, which gives him more advantages and more disadvantages.
yeah.
Like he can use his hands to pick locks, but he also has like -2 to his strength.
So to go over the questions again, I was going to go over these. It says give a 2 or 3 sentence description of yourself, so you can ask your players. That's a simple one. They can just describe it. It doesn't have to be specific to your world because it's just what they think of themselves. And then as a DM, you can put that into your own world. What do you perceive as your greatest strength? That can be anything. I mean, obviously, you've already rolled your stats for your character. Don't put, I'm very smart when you have an intelligence of 7, or like, I'm really great at
I
solving
mean,
puzzles.
though you could be a character who thinks they're really smart. That's dumb. That could be fun.
Yeah, okay.
So if you're gonna do that, just know what you're doing. Like
That would
know that
be,
you're doing that.
yeah, but that would be what's your most obvious flaw and weakness is you think you're smarter than everybody else and you're not.
That's true. That would be
You're
more of a
dumb.
weakness than a.
But those are, I love, if you're going to get an advantage, have a disadvantage. Just balances your character and makes it a lot fun and interesting.
Yeah. Like one of the best characters from season 1 of Critical Role that I'm going to keep referencing is Grog, who has a 6 intelligence.
No, he's great.
It was a really fun character.
Very fun. And then the next one was where's your homeland? Where's your family? Again, you don't have to make them be specific because they might not know your world, but they can be like, I'm from a farm or I'm from a forest. And then as a DM,
Big
you can,
city.
yeah, I'm from a big city. As a DM, then you can work with them or you can pick like, hey, this is based on where you're going to start your campaign and you can pick it and say that you're going to be from here. And this is kind of how you ended up there. What relationships, where's your homeland? Where's your family? Where's your family at? What relation do you have to any other party members? Which is cool because especially if you create your characters with the party members you're going to be with.
Which you should do. You should have a session 0.
I agree. I think this should be something that you create together. That way you get to know a little bit about what they are. So maybe you like that and you can toss back and forth. Hey, what if we're friends and this is what we did? And that helps to create a background.
Also, so you don't end up with a party of 5 bards.
Well, yeah. Yeah. You got to be, well, but that could be fun too if you're doing, that's probably more of a one shot, but
yeah, one shot.
It would be interesting. All bards would be.
5 goblin bards. That's what.
That might be actually fun to do. Like, I don't know how long you can last. Anyways, okay, we digress.
I'm gonna look up. Hold on, yeah. You do that.
What is your want or your goal in life? Now, this can be something that really helps your DM. If they know where you want your character to go, what they want to do, gives you purpose. Like you can think, okay, this is what I'm striving for. Like with my rogue Flendrick, his was to collect items, one up rings. So anytime I always knew that he was looking for a ring. If he found one, he'd hide it from the party and keep it for himself. Just stuff like that adds to your character.
Yeah. It can be simple, kill a dragon. It can be
what are some
complex.
yeah, what are some tragic events that happened in your past? Um, that's simple. That can, maybe you think of one or two, like, my sister was killed, I got bullied when I was in school, just something, real life stuff you can take from your own life and add some of those in there if you want to work some stuff out through D&D.
Yeah. Maybe they
um,
were like a soldier that lost all of their battalion or something.
yeah. And then what are some of the best parts of your life? So this is where, especially if you're going into higher levels, like, hey, this I became, I won this, I
Yeah.
was in this battle, and
If you're anything above level 10, you're basically a god. In terms of compared to other,
people
like compared to the people, you're
compared to a normal NPC.
legendary.
Yeah. Um,
So,
and then what are some fears? And then, what was the one you?
oh, do you have an
A
enemy?
nemesis.
Nemesis.
Yeah.
A nemesis.
Yeah, and that's good for like future. If you
And
get
your
into
nemesis
future,
could be like a group, specific person. It could just be I hate all bards
yeah,
because they annoy me. So anytime you go to a tavern and you hear a bard, you get mad at them.
yeah.
I mean, don't make it detrimental to your party, but have some fun.
Sometimes you might have to.
Don't do it too
True
much. If you have a character like that, don't make if your group's getting annoyed by it, don't do that. But there's a good balance between just the right amount of annoying, which I think Enix strikes perfectly.
Don't be
Enix is
don't be a know-it-all and try to tell.
that's just because if the magic item doesn't say to roll for it, I don't know why I have to roll for it.
Hey, sometimes you just go with, hey, the DM's
That's
always
true,
right.
the DM has final say, so just go with it.
But that's it. I mean, that's how you create a background. Um, have fun with it. It's not hard. It's actually where you start to kind of give your character personality. Um, anything else you want to add?
Don't try to be a min maxer. That's not fun.
Explain what that means to the people who.
It means you make a character that is just good, like really good at everything.
Right.
Or not even really good at everything. Like min maxers usually have to do with combat. So there'd be like coffee locks, which are paladin warlocks that just always have short rest and never have long rest because they don't need them and they keep smiting stuff and it's insane. Don't be a min maxer.
Yeah. Don't be one
or
of
if
those
you are,
guys.
at least still role play. That's like half the game. Sometimes more.
Yeah. You're not trying to win. You're trying to have fun.
Also roll with your mistakes. If you roll a 1, it's not bad. Just make it like have fun with it. Sometimes 1s can be just as fun as natural 20s. If you think about them the same. So that's all I have. That's my rant. My hot take.
Basically, have fun. Be creative with your background. It doesn't always have to be your parents were killed by dragons, and you don't always have to be royalty. Sometimes you don't really need to be anything. You can be a commoner. I started walking down this road and just kept walking and found a sword. Thought I'd swing it.
The accidental heroes are always the best.
Fun. All right, so what are we going to talk about next?
I think next week we should do something with classes.
Okay.
I don't know.
I like it.
Classes and subclasses. And we'll go over, just general like.
Let's do that. Let's go into classes.
Your class and picking your subclass based on what other people have picked, and
And then we'll go into some role playing with our character that we have. So I'll create some scenarios, and we'll kind of go over some different ways to role play some certain situations. We'll go over your basic. We'll do a tavern one since we spend 98% of our time in D&D and taverns. So
Yeah, if usually the game starts in a tavern, and
always.
if you're a DM, don't feel bad about doing that. Who cares? It's your
That's
game.
great. Taverns are the best. Part of where um, our name came from. Not that we're all a bunch of drunks, but uh, it seems like in Dungeons and Dragons that everybody's drinking. You're always going to find
Which
ale.
is funny because both of my characters in Listrin don't drink.
Yeah. So
And they're the evil guys. That's probably why. That's why they're evil.
that's why they're evil, because they've never tasted the sweet, luscious juices of sweet
It's
ale.
make it weird. The luscious juices.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for the follows. You can support us. Buy merch. We got Drunkards and Dragons hats. We've got
What's up there?
our shirts available.
I'm also not wearing my shirt. I'm terrible.
Yeah. So that's available at our merch store. We are going to be creating a new merch store soon. So we'll have some more stuff coming out. And then we will be back live on Mixer on Tuesday with the Curse of Strahd. Hopefully we worked out all the curses on the stream, so it works itself
hopefully
out.
this player character sacrifice has left us without all these curses.
So we'll catch you next time. We'll do another one of these in a couple weeks. And again, thanks for coming by. Thanks for supporting the stream. Have a great night.
See ya.